We love ice cream at our house, and the summer especially, ice cream is one of those treats that you just have to have. Now you can buy low carb ice creams in the grocery store, but they often have added icky ingredients. And once you learn how to make your own, it is so super easy and far better than anything you'll ever buy, I promise. One of the reasons I love to make ice cream is because it is perfect for families getting together, and oftentimes you make it anyway, or folks will make the high sugar version. And so it's nice to have a low carb option that everyone can enjoy. And because the option is either eat the high carb sugary stuff or not have any at all. And so if you tell me I can't have something, it makes me want it that much more. So if I can make my own low carb ice cream and do the flavors I want, then that's an even better bonus. So what I'm going to show you is a really basic vanilla custard recipe. And this is just a wonderful platform for any flavor you might want. And we're going to talk about the flavors too. So this is a recipe by LeeAnn at Cut the Wheat, and she's an awesome food blogger. Her recipes are so reliable. I have this on a low heat, and what I have is just 2 1/4 cups of heavy cream. Now, you really want heavy cream instead of heavy whipping cream, if you can find it. Heavy cream has higher milk fat. It's 35 to 36% milk fat, whereas heavy whipping cream is closer to 32% milk fat or 30% milk fat, a little less. The flavor doesn't change that much, but the texture matters. Also, heavy whipping cream also has some, generally has some stabilizers so that when you whip it, it stays whipped. The higher milk fat doesn't necessarily need that. So you really want just ingredients, cream and maybe salt. This does, I believe, have carrageenan and monodiglycerides, which in our area, it's really about the best you can find unless you get an organic heavy cream, and then it's organic heavy whipping cream, which has lower fat profile. So use whatever you can find and you enjoy. I'm in a pretty rural area, so that's what we get. I'm going to add to this 5 egg yolks. And you can use 5 or 6. It really doesn't matter. Now, until I made this recipe, I had never made, and I just discovered it last year, I had never made ice cream that used raw egg. In fact, my mother would have said no. This is so stinking good. Use Davidson's Choice Safe Eggs if you don't like using raw eggs. I have it on a very low heat. And the original recipe calls to simmer it on low heat to warm the eggs, and that way you don't have to worry about any bad things. I have made this recipe so many times, and honestly, I don't usually heat it. And you know, we're all still standing, so I guess you can take your chances as you feel comfortable, but it's never been a problem for us. So I've added 5 egg yolks to 2 1/4 cups of heavy cream. LeeAnn's recipe calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so I'm going to add that in. And actually, I already have a batch of this in my ice cream freezer, so I can show you what yumminess to put, flavors we put with it. I'm going to put a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and I think LeeAnn's recipe doesn't call for quite this much. I love vanilla extract. Now, let me tell you a little secret about the vanilla extract. You want to make sure that it's vanilla extract, it's vanilla bean and alcohol, vodka. You do not want to get an extract or flavoring that has propylene glycol. Propylene glycol is basically antifreeze. Can you imagine why you don't want to put antifreeze in your ice cream? It really will mess up the texture. So use good vanilla extract with no propylene glycol. And so we put our heavy cream, we put our egg yolks, we put our salt, and now sweetener. LeeAnn calls for Swerve, and I am going to put about a 1/2 cup of Swerve. I'm putting a little less than she is, and then I'm going to add liquid sucralose. And the liquid sucralose is just a nice flavor. Swerve has an aftertaste that my family doesn't really enjoy. So I'm going to mix the sweeteners. You can use stevia, xylitol, whatever sweetener your family prefers. And I'm putting about 6 or 7 drops of this. Once I get it all stirred up, I'm going to taste it and see if it's sweet enough. Now, what I'm doing with this, I'm making this vanilla custard, and then I'm going to make flavors. And so it doesn't have to be all that sweet. What you will love about this recipe is the texture. It's creamy and smooth, and it just, it's not icy like a lot of homemade ice cream, even when you freeze it and leave it in the freezer. I'm making 3 batches today. One is made, one, the mixture is in the fridge, and then I'm going to show you the flavors. I may make a plain vanilla, and I have these little containers. They're pint-sized containers that I bought at Amazon, and I'll scoop it into that and freeze it, and then when we're ready to eat it, you just pull it out, let it sit outside of the fridge, outside the freezer for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, in the fridge for maybe 30 to 45 minutes until it softens and you can serve it. It will be a harder, a more firm texture, but it's going to be very, very creamy. So let's see if we've got it sweet enough. And we do. It's just about perfect. Okay, so for whatever ice cream freezer you have, you'll want to put this in, you want it to cool down, and some folks recommend letting it cool in the fridge and then using an ice cream freezer. Use whatever maker you have. If you don't have an ice cream maker, well, you can either buy one, and there's a decent Cuisinart model that's $40 or $50 on Amazon, or you can make it by putting it in a freezer-safe bowl. Plastic is generally preferable. You could also use stainless steel, I suppose. But put it in the bowl, stir it every 30 to 45 minutes, and so put it in the freezer, stir it every 30 to 45 minutes. It will thicken, and then once it gets thick enough, you can stop stirring, and eventually it'll freeze. Okay, so I'm going to stop now and show you the flavors we're going to put in the ice cream that we made. Okay, so we made our ice cream, we've got in whatever freezer we're going to use, and now we need to think about our 31 flavors. One of the first of the 31 flavors that my family loves is peanut butter ice cream. Now, peanut butter and paleo communities, they don't mix, but peanut butter is fairly low carb. If you decide to use peanut butter, use a peanut butter that is, you can use creamy or crunchy, but use a peanut butter that's just peanuts and salt. You don't want anything that has any extra sugars in it. Now, what I have done is I've taken an entire jar, and this happens to be Trader Joe's. I've taken an entire jar of 16 ounces of peanut butter. I've added a full cup of powdered Swerve. You don't have to use Swerve, or any erythritol. You can use xylitol. You can use any powdered sweetener that gives it some bulk. The key is you want to use a powdered sweetener because that absorbs the moisture. It makes the peanut butter very dry. If you don't have powdered Swerve or powdered xylitol or whatever powder you prefer, put it in a blender or a Ninja, and you can pulverize it and make it powdered pretty easily. So I've used a 16-ounce jar of peanut butter, 1 cup, and it's going to make a lot, far more than we'll use for one batch of ice cream. I put it into my food processor because this gets really thick, and you can see how thick it is. You want to use enough powdered sweetener that if you made a ball, it would stay there. Now, you can also use this filling to make low-carb peanut butter cups. And what you do is you take a muffin tin, melt chocolate, put the melted chocolate, put in your little disc of peanut butter, and then put more melted chocolate, and you've got wonderful peanut butter cups. What I'm going to do is use this to make Reese cup ice cream. So we've got vanilla ice cream, and I'm going to take the peanut butter and just crumble it into little pieces. And I can do this too as I'm putting it in the mixer. And I've got the ice cream going. I want the ice cream to get fairly thick before I add anything. I don't want it too thick. I don't want it too close to done, but I want it fairly thick because that way all the good stuff doesn't go to the bottom. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the little pieces of peanut butter. And this stuff freezes well too. So if you don't use it all, you can pop it in the freezer and have a treat. And then for the chocolate, you can make your own chocolate bars, low carb, or you can chop up a low carb candy bar, and that's what I did. Now, I'm using Cocoa Polo, which is one of my family's favorites. Cavalier makes a milk chocolate. The important thing for my family with this recipe is they really prefer the milk chocolate. There's a lot of dark chocolate, and you can use dark chocolate if you like it. Use what you prefer. But you want to mix up the little pieces of peanut butter and the chopped up pieces of chocolate. And I chopped this with a knife. You can put it in the food processor You don't have to. You could just toss this in and give it a mix. I like to make sure that the peanut butter is in little tiny pieces, and then when you're eating the ice cream, you get a bite of goodness in each. So to make the peanut butter inside, I basically used 1 jar of peanut butter, 16-ounce jar, 1 cup of powdered sweetener. I did use 2 tablespoons of a sugar-free honey. Yes, it has maltol, but it gives it a great texture. I also used a teaspoon of salt. You may want more or less salt. The salt just intensifies the flavor. I used a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And then I used a little additional liquid sweetener in the form of Easy Sweets. So that's all that's in here. Peanut butter, powdered sweetener, some liquid sweetener, some salt, some sugar-free honey. You can use regular honey too, but it's higher carb, and vanilla extract. That's it. And so when the ice cream is ready, I'll put that in. It should be ready by the time I finish. So flavor 1, you could do just a peanut butter ice cream, which my husband would like. Flavor 2, you can do a peanut butter chocolate ice cream, which I think anyone would like. Flavor 3, you can do a hazelnut milk chocolate. If you like Nutella, this is an excellent flavor, and this is hazelnut by Cavalier. Now, let's put that aside, and I'll show you something really yummy. This is another one I'm gonna make for today. Anybody like fruit? I used some fresh berries, and I have a video on how to make fruit sauce. But basically, you start with a cup or 2 of fresh berries. I use 2 cups of blueberries in this, and you put it in with about a 1/4 cup of water, and you let that just simmer. And then you add in, what you've done is you've taken a tablespoon of grass-fed gelatin or unflavored gelatin, let that dissolve in a 1/4 cup of water. Again, there's a video on how to do it. Add some vanilla extract, a little bit of lemon extract, and when it cools, you've got a wonderful thick sauce. So, flavor 3 could be blueberry ice cream, and again, when the ice cream thickens, I will add this into it, or I could use it as sauce after. Now I can do blueberries, I can do raspberries, blackberries, or strawberries. Any of those fruit would do. So that gives me 4 more flavors. So I think we're up to 7 flavors now. Let's introduce some cheesecake. I made cheesecake, and this is a low-carb cheesecake. I have a video on how to make a low-carb cheesecake. It is super, super easy. I took the low-carb cheesecake and just, again, kind of like the peanut butter, mushed it into small pieces, crust and all. And so when the ice cream is the right texture, I'll crumble that in along with some blueberries, and we'll have a blueberry cheesecake ice cream. You could do any of those fruits. You could do the strawberry cheesecake, blackberry cheesecake, raspberry cheesecake would be good. You could also do just cheesecake. So I think if you're counting, that gets us up to about a dozen flavors. 4 fruit flavors plus the cheesecake is 8. We also had the hazelnut, the peanut butter, the chocolate peanut butter. I think that was it. So maybe we're only at 11. What you also could do is use a chocolate bar and some peppermint extract and have chocolate chip mint ice cream, which is one of my daughter's favorites. And I'm gonna ask my husband if he'll go check on the ice cream and make sure it's not getting too thick. He tells me it's not, okay? Another flavor that you can do, growing up, my mother's favorite ice cream was butter pecan. So I have some fresh pecans, and you can simply put those in, you want them in fairly large-ish pieces, put them in your skillet with some butter, and roast them up. Make sure you put salt as you go, but I would just toast them for a while and have wonderful butter pecan ice cream. You can also add to it some maple flavor, or you could add to it, I'm looking to see what it has in it, make sure there's no propylene glycol in there, and there isn't. You could add some maple flavor, or you could add some imitation vanilla, butter, and nut. This does have the propylene glycol, so I would add it at the end instead of doing it midway through. So now we're up to 12 or 13 flavors. Wow, how does Baskin-Robbins do it? You can also do toasted coconut. I love coconut, and you could use some coconut cream, and you can just add the toasted coconut, just like we did with pecans. You want to put them in some butter and toast them, and that would make a nice addition. So you have toasted coconut ice cream. Coffee. Does anybody like coffee around here? We love coffee. So let me get my coffee out. You could simply add coffee powder to the vanilla custard before you even make it. You can use, this is a stevia cocoa syrup. You could use that to make it chocolate. You can also simply use cocoa powder to make it chocolate, or mix your chocolate and your coffee and have a mocha ice cream. So there's 3 more flavors. I've lost count now, but I hope we're up to about 16 or 17. Cookie dough. I have a recipe on how to make this cookie dough. I do tend to freeze it in these little condiment cups. I've shown you these before. I picked these up at Walmart. I picked them up, and my husband was looking at me because he didn't know I had any left. We had hidden them. These are great. The cookie dough, just like with the peanut butter and chocolate, and just like with the cheesecake and blueberry, you just crumble it into the ice cream mixture, and you have cookie dough ice cream. And again, there's a video on how to make that cookie dough. Now, let's see. Oh, this is more coconut, fine coconut macaroon that you could use with the toasted coconut. Or what about, and I'm getting into an area here that is kind of questionable. This is a pineapple coconut flavor, and this is a strawberry pineapple. You could use these together with the coconut and make like a pina colada flavor, which I think would be really good. The problem are these things. This has some sweeteners and some chemicals I generally don't use. My husband and daughter really like them. If you use them, I think that would be a really nice way to get different flavors of ice cream. The same thing with the Mio orange tangerine or the orange vanilla, and that I think would taste like a creamsicle. Another thing that you can do, and they're going to raise the carbs a little bit, but Trader Joe's sells dried fruit, and there's nothing in them but freeze-dried fruit. This orange would be really delicious if you added some orange extract, which I have. So use some orange extract in your ice cream. Add little pieces of orange. Now this entire container is 24 grams of carbs. You would not want to use that. But the pieces are like this, and I would chop that, I would just pulverize it, and it would give a really nice flavor, kind of an orange flavor, which is be a great summer flavor. I'm going to try that. The same, and then like I said, the orange extract would help to enhance it. The same thing is true for the freeze-dried strawberries, their freeze-dried raspberries, their freeze-dried blueberries. And again, this entire container is like 30 carbs, 29, 30 carbs, and you wouldn't use even a fraction of that in the entire thing of ice cream. Also, I have coconut extract, coffee extract, raspberry extract, and strawberry extract, all of which will enhance the flavor without adding the carbs that real fruit would. That's about it I have on the flavors. Let's pause the video, go grab the ice cream, and we'll add in some mix-ins. Okay, the ice cream's just getting thick. It's not ready, but it's thick enough that when I put the peanut butter and chocolate in, it's not going to sink directly to the bottom. My freezer has this little window, and I can just open it and add it in. If it didn't have the little window, I would just take the whole top off. Oops. And I can do that anyway. You can probably see better with that window off. And I'm just adding in the chopped peanut butter and chocolate that we made earlier. Now, as soon as this is ready, I will take it, put it in freezer containers, because we're not ready to eat it right now. And then when I serve it, I'm able to pull it, oops, that's way too much. When we serve it, I'm able to pull it out of the freezer, let it fall just a bit, and it'll have a wonderful creamy texture. I'm not going to put a little more chocolate, not more peanut butter, and that's really about enough. And I don't know what I'll do with all this leftover chocolate and peanut butter, but I'm sure there's someone in the house who will like it. So let that finish up, and I'll show you what that looks like. So our first batch of ice cream is ready. And the first batch I made was the peanut butter and chocolate, the Reese cup. And you can see how thick it is. Now this is perfect to eat just as it is. And I've got figs swarming around me, ready to taste a bite. But you can probably tell just from looking at how I'm scooping it out, it's really very creamy and thick. I wish I could give you a taste of this because it is super, super thick and delicious. Now, my ice cream maker is small, so it doesn't make a huge amount, but I can put this in the freezer and then the kids or family can enjoy it whenever. So I'll put that one away. I think that's about full. Maybe put a little more. And then I'm going to make the next batch, and the next batch that I have ready will be the blueberry cheesecake.